But there's a lot of people in the corporate world, they're like, I can't do it because when you're, for those who don't know, when you're in a manager or above, executive or above role, your presence is felt when you're not there. And I'll elaborate. Your title precedes you. They know who you are, where you're going, things like that. There's times where you go to an event, there's a driver for you. There's times where you'd go to a restaurant and it could be on the company's tab, it could be this. There are certain perks that your title will get you. And for a lot of us, as you mentioned as well, is we give up a lot. It's a lot of years, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of us for
Yes.
the role.
Mhm.
And when you ultimately leave, some cases you leave because you've been promoted on, or some cases you've established your own business and you move forward. It's not until when you leave you realize how replaceable you are.
Yes.
And I think for those who want that type of role, you need to understand you're going to bust your butt. You're going to work these long hours. You're going to have the meetings at 4 p.m. You're going to have the meetings at 5 p.m., even though at 5:05, even though you're done at 5 p.m., you're going to have these long hours. Yes, there's perks and benefits there, but depending on the type of life you want to live outside of your job, it may not be worth it and it may not be for everyone. Looking back on how much you've accomplished now, is it somewhat of a blessing in disguise for you that you've separated from the corporate world?
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, I was without question a workaholic. I had meetings from 7 to 7 every day, and I was in before my meetings and there after my meetings. And every Friday night I did my department's finances. I never went out on Friday nights. I was at work until 10 or 11. I mean, and on the weekends I was hosting something, some nonprofit that I was on the board of, or in the evenings I was at some kind of corporate dinner. It literally consumed my life, and I loved it. However, now what consumes my life is my marriage with my husband, which is amazing, is partly my health, my business, which I love working in, but also family and friends, traveling to enjoy my time with them. I have a standing meeting every Thursday at 10:30 with a client, and they laugh. They're like, where in the world is Adriana this week? You know, one week I might be in St. Louis, the next week I might be in Phoenix, the next week Nashville. But I have the luxury of being able to travel with my husband when he's out of town because I can work from anywhere. And so I have really found that this is such a big blessing in disguise, to use your words. I mean, I would say it was really hard because I was the first in my family to be an executive, and being a Latin woman, you're shattering a lot of ceilings when you do that. And so I was heralded for that. Whereas not just in my family, but in the industry, now there aren't the industry awards, and my mom still doesn't know what I do. But she just calls me every time her iPhone doesn't work. But the reality is I don't need all of that anymore. I came to the conclusion that where I am is more of a space of gratitude for how far I have come in my life.
I'm the same way. When I talk about my career with my friends or my family, the only time they understand is when I say I manage people.
Right.
They have, right? The day-to-day, they don't, they have an idea, I believe, because of maybe the movies or the shows. They have an idea. Like if you can describe it and say, I'm kind of like a CEO, but I don't get CEO money, then all of a sudden their eyes get big.
Yeah.
Right? Right? Because now there's pride, there's prestige. As you mentioned, you're being heralded, especially if you're the first. I'm the oldest of 3 children. And I'm the first to graduate post-secondary. I'm the first to be in that type of role.
Mm-hmm.
My parents weren't, my grandparents weren't, so on and so forth. So similar to when you mentioned that you're the first in this, you're the first in that, I totally understand it because I know what it's like. It's like you're the pride and joy of people that you're not really close with family wise. Like you see them at barbecues and events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. But they know that you're somebody, even though they don't necessarily know what you do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I swear to you, my mom thinks being executive is just flying around the country having lunch for 3 hours a day. It's like, no. But if you want to think that that makes you happy, that's fine too. I'm not going to burst your bubble. But to your point, you do kind of carry the weight of your family. I like you, I'm the first to graduate college in my family. My immediate family, my grandfather was a engineer and graduate of Northwestern, but I'm the first in my immediate family of any of the kids or my parents to graduate college. And, I'm a minority doing it. And I did it in a very whitewashed location, I would say. And so it's a big deal. And so when you, like you said, when you carry that weight for your family, it's more than just losing your career. I felt like I was letting everyone down, like I had gotten so far and, now I was kind of relegated backwards, but I don't think that way anymore. I really think that it was a way forward. And this was the only way I would ever balance my life, was probably to get sick.
And when you learned that, then that's a good point. Because you mentioned you don't think that anymore. What got you to that point? Because I can understand you feeling, as you mentioned, that there's all this weight on you and maybe you're letting your family down.
Mm-hmm.
But how was the path to get to the point where you're thinking, this is who I am today? What I was yesterday, last year, 5 years ago, that's just a different woman. I'm a different woman today, and in a lot of ways, a better woman. How did you get to that point?
So, a lot of it is my support system, to be honest. I have a very supportive husband, like I've mentioned, and his take on it when I was really sick, the sickest, was you don't need to work, so don't work unless you want to. And so he found out really quickly that work is a huge passion of mine. And so he is hugely supportive of me working in my own business. And I struggled with it. I had I still go to therapy every month, but I was going to therapy more frequently to really break through some of those old mindsets and shift my mindset. This is very hard to do. You have to think you've had a career for 40 some years, or not 40 years, until you're in your mid 40s, and, sort of 25, 30 years. And all of a sudden that's all different. So you're used to thinking one way, and now you have to think a total different way. And then I think the other thing is I'm a big believer in affirmations and vision boards. So I always have a vision board. Mine's right to my left here in the office. And I keep it on my phone now, so it's always present. And then I have one in my bedroom. And I have sticky notes on my mirror. One of them says I'm 100% healthy, because I think what you tell yourself, you manifest into reality. And so I had to start telling myself that I was not defined by my career, that I was not defined by my title, and that I was defined by what I contribute to the world and how I leave the people that I interact with. And so it was a lot of work, but I'm happy I got here.